Good evening and welcome to our MC Ernie Gallery here at WHQR. I'm George Scheibener and I'm very pleased to present another Soup to Nuts live concert tonight. Please, a warm welcome for Lisa and Galen. Lisa Rankin on piano.
Thank you.
Galen Hunsucker on guitar. Well, you needn't. They will also be bringing one of Galen's prized pupils, Sean Crane, a little bit later on in the hour to do some duets. So it's a real nice guitar show we have here tonight. Oh, with of course.
Yes, excuse me. I mean, look at this thing.
But as,
for those
as you'll
of you
see,
who can't
as you'll see,
it.
Lisa also plays a very small guitar. And you'll be hearing that too. Let's get back into the music again. You're listening to Soup to Nuts live here on WHQR.
It's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars up above in your eyes. A fantabulous night to make romance beneath the covers of October skies. And all the leaves on the trees are falling to the sound of the breezes that blow. And I'm trying to place to the calling of your heart since the place soft and low. You know that night's magic seems to whisper and hush. You know that soft moonlight seems to shine in your blush. Can I just tell moon dance with you, my love. Can I just make some more romance with you, my love? Well, I wanna make love with you tonight, and I can't wait till the morning comes. And I know when the time is just right, then straight into my arms you will run. And when you do, my heart will be waiting to make sure that you're never alone. There and then all my dreams will come true, dear. There and then I will make you my own. And every time I touch you, you just tremble inside. And then I know how much you want me there. You can't hide. Can I just have one more moon dance with you, my love? Can I just make some more romance with you, my love? Ooh, do ba ba da boo do 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 bum. Ba da bum ba do ba do 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 bum.
I'm so proud of him too.
It's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars all above in your eyes. Fantabulous night to make romance near the covers of October skies. All the leaves on the trees are falling to the sound of the breezes are blowing. I'm trying to place to the calling of your heart seems to play so low. You know that night's magic seems to whisper and hush. You know that soft moonlight seems to shine in your blush. Can I just have one more moon dance with you, my love? Can I just make some more romance with you, my love? One more moon dance with you in the moonlight on a magic night. Ooh, on the moonlight on a magic night. Can I just have one more moon dance with you, my love?
Hold on 1 second. He's just getting warmed up, you know? I want to slow it down and show him that you can sing too. You're not just another pretty guitar player.
We're gonna do one of my favorite songs, actually. I do listen to a lot of guitar players, yes I do, but one of my favorite musicians of all time is Louis Armstrong. So this is Send It Out to Louis, wherever you are up there. I see trees of green and red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky,
Are also on the faces of the people going by.
I see friends shaking hands, saying how do you do. What they're really saying is I love you.
I hear babies cry, I will watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I will ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky.
Are also on the faces of the people gone by.
I see friends shaking hands, saying how do you do. What they're really saying is I love you. I hear babies cry, I will watch them grow, but they're gonna learn a lot more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yeah.
Well, since you did so well singing that one, maybe we'll let you sing another one. What do you think about?
I only know like 3 songs. So.
Well, then, okay, we'll do one of those. Okay. How about that? How about the Nat King Cole?
Okay.
2, 3, 4.
Well, now, if you ever plan to motor west, you take my way, the highway that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. Well, it winds from Chicago to LA, more than 3,000 miles all the way. Get your kicks on Route 66. Well, it goes to St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, Oklahoma City looked all so pretty. You see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Winona. Go to Kingman, Barstow, Santa Bernardino. Now, if you get a hip to this time of tip, when you make that California trip, get your kicks on Route 66. Play it now. Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Winona. Go to Kingman, to Barstow, to Santa Bernardino. Now, if you get hip to this time of tip, when you make that California trip, get your kicks on Route 66. And for my friend Ray Benson, get your kicks on Route 66. You can get your kicks on Route 66. Thank you.
Lisa and Galen here tonight in our MC Ernie Gallery before a very enthusiastic audience. We're tightly packed here tonight. It sounded really good from the audience side, too. I'm George Scheibner. You're listening to Soup to Nuts Live here on your public radio station. This is WHQR 91.3 FM. Let's talk a little bit to Lisa and Galen. We'll start off with Lisa. Now, you come from a musical family, I told.
Mm-hmm. My father was an elementary music teacher who could teach any other child music except his own. So he farmed me out to a piano teacher, and that is the truth. And my mother was an amateur singer. She was Norwegian and came over here, and she wanted to be a singer. She wanted to be a singer so bad that they had an audition for the Messiah, and you had to read the music to do it, but she knew it by heart, so she just her eyes followed the page, and she got the job, and that's how she met my dad, was singing in the Messiah. And I thought that's pretty ambitious.
That's not called sight reading, though, is it? Well, tell us how you got together with this guy. I understand it was like 24 years ago or more.
We just had an anniversary, 24 years. Yep. Thank you. Well, it had to have been put together by some other source, because I was living in Denver at the time, and I was flown to Greensboro, and believe it or not, I didn't know where Greensboro was. I'd never even heard of it, but they wanted to fly me there to open a piano bar, because I'd worked for this manager before in Denver. And so I said, I'll come and open up for you, and I'll go back. So I did. And then they called me and they said, no, you need to move here. We need to make it worth it to you to come. So I came to Greensboro knowing nobody, and just did this piano bar. And he had just come off the road from Texas, studying with Jackie King, the guitarist out there. And he had just come off the road, and I had the one gig in town and he had the other one. So we were almost destined not to meet, because we were both playing all the time. But we had a persistent waitress at the place that I played at, also worked where he was, and said, you two have got to meet. And of course, I got to tell you this, though. I'm going, oh, a guitar player, how unusual. I'll get around to it on my one day off, right? So that wasn't going to happen. And he finally got a night off, and he came in to hear me, and
The rest is history.
the rest is history. Yeah.
And the styles have meshed.
Yeah, they have.
How did that first night? Did you know immediately when you started playing?
Well, the very first night was another fluke at the hotel that I was playing at. It was a Grand Hotel, and it was a lobby bar, and so they can't have anybody sit in. It was policy. You can't have anyone sit in because it's just too approachable to everybody. So that was standard, and I honored that the whole time I was there, until he was sitting in there one night. It was completely quiet. There was nobody. And I thought, it's not going to bother anybody. I want to hear how good this guy is. So I said, why don't you just plug in? Because he had his guitar in his car. I said, why don't you just plug in? So he did. And I said, we'll just play one song and just see what it's like. Well, he got his guitar on, strapped it on, and a party from a banquet broke from upstairs, and 250 people came into the lounge, literally at that moment. And they're going, music, music, music. And I said, Galen, look, we're going to find out how good you are tonight. I said, put your seatbelt on and let's go. And we did, and we played the whole night together, never once having ever heard each other. And we had people that night literally coming up to us saying, how long have you guys been married? We should have known then we were in trouble. But I'm a slow learner. It took me a little while.
So 250 angels from up above.
Angels from above.
And they were partying.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, it's funny, too, that waitress that brought us together,
Yeah.
we never saw her again. She ended up, seriously, she was done at both restaurants like that. She just disappeared. And I thought, I said, was she real? Did any of us get a picture of her? I wondered about that.
There was a little bell that rang right after all that happened.
Yeah, she got her wings.
Lisa and Galen tonight here for Soup to Nuts Live. Back to more music.
One of the things I love about working with Lisa, before we got together, I toured on the road a lot, most of the time, with various bands. But one of the reasons I really have loved working with Lisa the last 24 years is because she plays all different types of music. And she writes all different types of music. And so that makes it interesting for me. And this is one of the reasons I love working with her, is because she writes songs like this.
I have lived my whole life in this valley, sheltered by these high-capped peaks. I was born in a cabin near a canyon, shaded by lush evergreens. And how I'd love to see the ocean, my friends, sail across an emerald sea. And though I've never left my mountain home, I ride the wild waves in my daydreams. When you tell me stories of the islands, tell me of your walks along the beach. I can only wonder what it feels like to have the sand and surf beneath my feet. I have lived my whole life by this forest. I know each trail end to end. I have stood atop these sacred mountains, watching eagles ride the wind. But how I'd love to see a dolphin, my friend, spinning freely from the sea. How I long to hear a seagull song carried on a salty ocean breeze. So tell me stories of the islands. Tell me of the starfish you have seen. For I can only wonder what it feels like to gather seashells like gifts from the sea. For there are wonders that this planet holds that I may never chance to see. Yet these wonders I can still behold when you share your world with me. I have lived my whole life seeking stories from places I'd one day like to go. But right where I am surrounded by such beauty. I found it hard to stray from home. So if I never sail the ocean, my friends, or dive to find a thriving reef, if I never surf the perfect wave, I hope that when you do, you'll think of me. And then tell me stories of the islands. Tell me all about this life you lead, and I will share my stories of these mountains, so you can know what it feels like to be me. There are wonders that this planet holds that I may never chance to see. Yet these wonders I can still behold when you share your world with me. When you tell me stories of the islands, when you sing me shanties from the sea, when you tell me stories of the islands, and tell me of your sunsets and palm trees. But I can only wonder what it feels like so blessed to be living by the sea. To be so blessed to be living by the sea. So share your life and cherish it for me.
We tune because we care. Although I can't feel the past to tell this story every time I do that. I was playing a show, I think it was in Dallas a long time ago. It was all bands from all over the place doing all kinds of things. I'm backstage tuning up. This guy walks by, he's got these chains and stuff, you know, and he's like, "What you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm tuning." Tuning? Tuning's for sissies.
Yeah, he goes, students for sissies.
And I'm happy to say he lived his religion because I heard them, and for what they played, I believe he believed that. Tuning for sissies. Gotta love it.
Well, if you don't mind indulging us, we have another one that we'd like to do that we know we'd be run out of town if we didn't do. It's a song called Ruby at the Fair. How many of you have heard this one? Yeah, okay. So, the song was inspired by a picture I saw in a book of this kind of a bulldog of a woman with all these buttons all over from this fair she was at. And she was intrigued by the picture, and then I started dreaming about her. So I ended up writing this whole song, Ruby at the Fair.
Well, working mornings at the corner store, I saw an older person's picture was caught inside a drawer. I straightened it out and headed for the porch to the old man rocking there. They passed the faded photograph back and forth, each smiling in a way I'd never seen before. When I asked who she was, they answered in one voice, "That's Ruby McNamara. That's Ruby at the fair." As all the others struggled from their chairs, Henry was claiming her flame-colored hair was as ruby red as candy apples at that fair. He said she truly fit her name. Well, that was before her husband's heart attack, and when her son was killed in action, well, it faded after that. She'd visit the graves but say, "You can't go back, you gotta live for today." That was old Ruby's way. Now they were all a-buzzing like a dozen bees, being reunited with their long-lost queen. Eyes alive with honey-sweet memories of Ruby McNamara. Soon a swarm of stories went flying around till old man Brian said, "Sit yourself down and we'll tell you how we ended up in town with Ruby at the fair." See, it was some years ago and Ruby dared us to go, but we told her our old bones were staying safe at home. Well, bless her soul, she said, "I'll just go alone if you're all too old and scared." Why, we up and went right then and there. Next thing we knew, Ruby marched us through the gates like some geriatric band in a nursing home parade. And like a majorette, she led the way, and we followed in her spell. But when she stopped at the roller coaster ride, we all thought that she finally lost her mind, till by and by everyone just gave a sigh, and they got in line as well. Why, I just pray they'd live to tell. Still, I couldn't help but wave every time they flew by, and when they survived, we gave the Ferris wheel a try. Never in my life had I been up so high, I even tried to touch the sky. Poor Harold had assumed he was immune to Ruby's spell, but with help we got him lifted on the carousel. His wheelchair gleaming like a stallion in steel. Well, Harold rode it twice. Now shy little Larry was declaring with pride how he'd won some giant panda in a red bow tie. Presenting it to Ruby, she'd squealed with delight, and she had hugged that bear so tight. Then she took it on every ride. Now Cotton told how Ruby set things right when a snow cone vendor refused to serve his kind. Ruby's speech not only changed his mind, Cotton even got his cone for free. Now the retired Reverend Thomas was the last to speak. He took his hat in his hand, and in a voice full of grief he said, Ruby died that same week in her sleep. May she rest in peace. May she rest in peace. Now quietly they passed her picture back around, but then suddenly everyone was talking about how this fall when the fair came to town, they would all take me in Ruby's memory. So next time you're headed for the county fair, think of Ruby, even say a prayer, and another for the others who will soon be there with Ruby McNamara. With Ruby at the fair. With Ruby at the fair. Yes. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Lisa and Galen tonight in our MC Ernie Gallery for Soup to Nuts Live. You're listening to that concert here on your public radio station, WHQR. I'm George Scheibner. As promised, an eclectic mix of music tonight and various idioms and the occasional message. I wanted to talk to a little bit more to Galen this time. And I want to know what a country boy from Asheboro, North Carolina, got started on jazz guitar. How did that happen?
It happened, actually. I started playing pretty young. And I was playing, I was already playing for a living by the time I was 15. So I was playing in Greensboro, a place called Alamo Country. And I came home one night. Of course, I didn't drive. Somebody had to bring me back and forth. But I turned on public radio. So I blame public radio for my life. That's where this is going.
Oh, we're getting it again.
Yeah, no, actually I did. I turned on public radio, and for the first time in my life, I heard Wes Montgomery. And so after hearing Wes Montgomery, I said, I don't know what that is, because I didn't know much about jazz. I mean, I'm a farm boy from Asheboro. It's like, I don't know what that is, but whatever that is, I like it. And so my daddy, who will be 80 tomorrow, took me to Peaches Records in Greensboro, and then to the college, actually, where we ended up getting a collection of Wes Montgomery. I still love, I have everything Wes ever recorded. And so I studied his style, and then I was accepted to a guitar school in Texas when I was 16. And so I went there, and that's where I met Herb Ellis.
Was that in North Texas?
San Antonio.
San Antonio.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
San Antonio. Yeah. home
NBA champions.
Yes, hell yeah. But no, I got studied there. That school was very unique, and there's really nothing like it anymore, unfortunately. It was run by a guy named Jackie King, who was a phenomenal session player and's been on, you couldn't begin to list the albums that man's been on. But he had friends who were some of the most well-known jazz guitarists in the world, including people like Freddie Green from Count Basie Orchestra, Barney Kessel, Joe Pass, Tal Farlow, Charlie Bird, and these guys used to come hang out in Texas, used to San Antonio. Herb Ellis especially, he liked to play golf and eat Mexican food. So, they would come down, and that's how I met Herb, and that's how we became friends.
Did Tal Farlow have any Greensboro stories? He's from Greensboro.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Tal as everyone would tell you, was a sweet man. And plus I started working with these harmonic techniques, and I'd never heard Tal Farlow until I got to school, actually. And he did that, and he was the master of that. So, we had a few things in common. It was kind of cool. But a lot of guys would come from California, New York, especially in the winter, and hang out. And that's what we did. And the thing I loved about it was some of these guys, like Freddie Green and other guys, they didn't really read music or anything. They were mostly self-taught in their era. So they're like, well, I look at the chord this way and I do this. So you learned a lot of concepts that were, the people came across being self-taught more than, than just academic, because we're getting that in school anyway. So.
And now the tables are turned and you're the teacher.
Yes. Now the tables are turned. And I have lots of students here in town, including one that's going to come up and play with us.
Tell us a bit about Sean before he
Sean Crane. Oh my goodness. What can we say on the air? No, I'm just kidding. I have been very blessed. I've had a lot of students through the years, and I have, since I've been here, the young man that's coming up, I have taught him since he was 9. Now, I'm not the only one that's taught him. He's taken lessons with Chris Luther. He's taken lessons with our dear friend Paco. And we are going to do a song that Sean wrote, actually, for Paco. And so we've got a lot of things. But yeah, he's been a great student so far. And now I learn from him sometimes. So here you go. That's the thing. And so it's been good.
I'll bet he's listening to bands that you've never heard of before.
Oh, yes. And this is the great thing about Sean. He researches on his own. He'll say, have you heard this? Have you heard that? And, my education, And it's not, it could be anything. And it's really great. And I hopefully have done the same for him. But anyway, so I try to let my students find their own path and which way they're going, and rather than try to push them in one way or the other. He just happened to fall into the jazz idiom and because he liked it. And so we play a lot around town together. So. Can we bring him up now?
Yeah.
Well, whenever you choose, it's your show.
Okay. I think that'd be great. I'm ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Crane.
Sean Crane.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sean Crane.
Just for the folks listening out in the radio audience, how old are you, Sean?
I'm 17. Yeah, and I started with Galen when I was 9, like he said. So I've been with him a while, learned a lot over the years. And another person who influenced me a lot was Paco Strickland. He was a local flamenco guitar player. And I was lucky enough to have him teach me a lot of his techniques, and he really changed my whole style and perspective on music. So this is a song I wrote for him, and I'd like to play it for you now, and I hope you like it.
Sean Crane. So, Sean, you ready for this one? Yeah. All right.
That's why he's a great student. He's always ready. Always does his homework.
And don't you just love that guitar? I mean, just look at this. It suits you so perfectly. Oh, yes, for those of you in the listening audience, this is a bright red cherry guitar. It's just beautiful.
It's the Chet
Something
Atkins
subtle.
guitar.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The Chet Atkins guitar.
That thing was in tune when we bought it.
I know it. And here's the irony about this song is that I'm playing with these two, right? I'm the pianist, and I'm doing the lead parts. So this should be real interesting, right? Okay. Song was written in the mountains. This goes out to Chunky. Yeah. Yep. This one goes out to Chunky and Martin Taylor. And after the show, if we have any time to explain, I'll explain why these were dedicated to them. A song called Gypsy Wind. Every now and then the gypsy wind will rise and start to blow, stirring up dreams of long lost things forgotten years ago. But grandmother says those who hear the wind learn something they need to know. For God will send on the gypsy wind blessings for our souls when the gypsy wind blows. When the gypsy wind blows. Every now and then the gypsy wind won't leave this poor girl alone. Keeps stirring in me a sweet yearning to see those places I long to go. But grandmother says those who hear the wind and chase it on down the road
will send another gypsy wind to show the way back home. When the gypsy wind blows, when the gypsy wind blows. He said every now and then the gypsy wind comes singing through the trees, stirring the leaves with hidden harmonies and wondrous melodies. My grandmother says those who hear the wind should listen carefully, for God will send on the gypsy wind the seeds of symphonies. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Sean Crane. Let's hear you, Sean Crane. Awesome. Yes, every now and then the gypsy wind will take me by surprise, by stirring up bittersweet memories of other lives and times. And grandmother says when that wind begins, some unbidden tears may flow, for God has sent a healing gypsy wind to melt those hearts grown cold. When the gypsy wind blows, when the gypsy wind blows. Still every now and then I can't pretend I wish that wind would just pass me by, leaving me to my predictable life, so safe, so satisfied. But grandmother says that old gypsy wind's an old friend we best not ignore, or God will send a howling gypsy wind to howl outside your door. If the gypsy wind starts to whisper to your gypsy soul, let it stir up your dreams of long forgotten things, let it take you where it wants to go. Remember grandmother says those who hear the wind learn something they need to know. She said God will send on the gypsy wind blessings for our souls. When the gypsy wind blows, when the gypsy blows, when the gypsy wind blows, when the gypsy wind blows. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Chunky.
Lisa and Galen here at WHQR tonight for Soup to Nuts Live. Let's hear one more time for Lisa Langdon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
For Galen Hunsucker on guitar. And our special guest tonight, Sean Crane. Sean, you brought a rooting section with you. Can you folks give me a little bit of easy rhythm that I can read the credits over? You've been listening to Soup to Nuts live here on WHQR 91.3 FM. We had a lot of help tonight from Doug and Janice Kivett, also Lindsay McGrath. Lan Nichols oversees our bookings and logistics and fixes things, sometimes even before they break. Tim Tyson from Sound Barrier Music is our audio engineer, Papa T. Phidias Reyes is our managing producer, and I'm George Scheibener. Soup to Nuts Live is a production of WHQR Wilmington, NPR, all kinds of music, and more at 91.3 FM. Thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for tuning in.
We're on an unknown voyage, sailing uncharted seas. We don't know what lies before us, only what might be. Old and familiar pleasures won't hold us anymore. When called to greater treasures found on distant shores, so bravely we go forward to face uncertainty. For in the mist that's moving towards us lies our destinies. Where will we go? God only knows. As we sail into the mist, we wonder what the future holds. Where will we go? God only knows. As we wait upon our fate on this unknown voyage of the soul. What perils lie before us are cloaked in mystery. Will we hear the sirens' chorus calling from the sea? Safe shores are now receding. We're sailing out of sight. To kith and kin we're leaving the storm